to use the trinomial method here. So let's see if we can find two numbers that multiply to give us what? 10 and add to give us 8. Can you think of those two numbers? Anyone think of those two numbers? 5 and 2 would give us 10, but 5 plus 2 is what? Okay, so if we can't find those two numbers, guess what? We're going to have to use the quadratic formula, which remember, the quadratic formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared, ooh, that's an ugly b, of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? So this would be x is equal to negative b, and in this case, what is b daily? 8. Very good. Negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times a. And what is a, Julio? 5 times c, which is 2. And remember, this is all over, all of this is over 2 times a, which is 5. So from here, I'm just simplifying. X equals negative 8 plus or minus. I kind of do this in my head, or you can put it in your calculator, whatever's under the radical. 8 times 8 to the second power, that's 64, right? And then that's 64 minus 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. So then that's 64 minus 40. Is that what you guys got? Which would give us 24. And then this is all over 10, correct? From here, we would just want to simplify our radical. It's 12:30? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just one second. So, now we need to break up 24. How do we break up 24? Six and 4, 2 and 3, 2 and 2. So do we have a pair? A pair of 2's, okay? And then that's x is equal to negative 8 plus or minus 2 square roots of 2, and the 3 is 6, all over 10, okay? And we can't simplify unless we're able to simplify with all three of these terms, the negative 8, this 2, and this 10. Is there a GCF between those three factors? 2. So we can divide everything by 2, and that gives us negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 6 over 5. And we cannot divide the 6 by the 2 because it's under the radical. Are y'all okay with that? Do you remember this? Kind of. All right, any questions here on number 5? That was a good question. All right, other questions. Connor, you had one? Number 8, same page, right here. Okay, can I exit out of here? I'll go to you next. Amy, go ahead. Yeah. It would be negative, positive 9. The answer should be negative 9 and positive 2. Wait, number 4? Yes. Is that not what it says? Oh, wait, yeah, 2. Sorry. I probably wrote it wrong. I'm sorry. This should be negative 9 and positive 2, right? Yes. Okay, let me go and look at that one, okay? Okay, and 3 is very much like number 8, so I'm going to do 8 since that's the one Connor asked for, and then you can see when we first factor out our GCF, which we should always do first, we factor out a c, and that leaves us with 5c squared plus 2c minus 3. Okay, and if you want to, some people think it's easier to go ahead and set that 1c we factored out equal to 0. So c equals 0 is one of our solutions, okay? And then we factor this middle part out, which means we want to find two numbers that multiply to give us negative 15 and add to give us 2. Do you all know what those two numbers are? 5 and negative 3 is negative 15, and 5 plus negative 3? Yes. So we bring down our first term, 5c squared, and our last term, which is negative 3. Then remember, we break this up into our magic numbers, plus 5c and then minus 3c. And then we would factor what's left by grouping. GCF here is 5c. What's the GCF between negative 3c and negative 3? Negative 3? So then we have our two factors left, which are 5c minus 3 and c plus 1. And then we'd set both of these equal to 0, and we end up getting c is equal to 3/5 and c is equal to negative 1. Does that help you, Emmy, with number 3, where we got that extra? Okay. Avery. No problem. Raise your hand if you just need another minute to write this down. You need another minute? No? Okay. Number 1. Right here, 4x plus 20x. Okay, the first thing I would do here is I want to get one side equal to 0. So I'd subtract 144. That gives us 4x squared plus 20x minus 144 equals 0. The next thing I would do here is I'd factor out our GCF, which is what? Four, okay. What is that, 36? Yes. Okay, do you see this 4 out front? It's just a multiple. It's unnecessary. We can just divide both sides by 4. These cancel. Divide this side by 4, and 0 divided by 4 is just 0. So we want to find two numbers that multiply to give us negative 36 and add to give us 5. What are those two numbers? Negative 4, 9. Do you guys agree? Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. And what is negative 4 plus 9? 5. Okay, good. So our two factors are just x minus 4 times x plus 9. We set those equal to 0, so our answers are just 4 and negative 9. Right? Any questions there? Okay, are we good with this? Can I move on? Yes? Okay. We're talking about systems of equations today. System of equations are the points where two lines meet, where they intersect. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph these lines. In order for us to graph lines, well, in my opinion, the easiest way is going to be for it to be in slope-intercept form. Guys, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Who can tell me what the m represents here? The slope, very good. And the b is? B, the y-intercept. Hence the name slope-intercept form. M's first, it's slope. B's next, it's the y-intercept. So on this one, to get y by itself, we'd subtract 2x. And our equation is y is equal to negative 2x plus 4. Do you see why I can't subtract 4 and negative 2x? Because those are unlike terms, right? On this one, I subtract x. And that leaves us with negative y is equal to negative x plus 2. But I've got to get y by itself, so what do I need to do? Divide by negative 1. And that gives us the equation y is equal to x minus 2. So let's just graph these. I'll graph the orange one first. When graphing lines, we always start with our y-intercept. The vertical axis that goes up and down, that's the y-axis. So we start at 1, 2, 3, 4 on our y-axis, and our slope is 2, but it's not regular 2, it's negative 2. Remember, slope is rise over run, so we can go up 2, and since it's negative, go to the left 1, or we can go down 2 and then to the right 1. Okay? And it creates this line. All right, the next line, let me do that in orange instead. Okay, the next one, we will graph the blue one. So we start at negative 2, and then we go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Am I doing this right? I can't see. Up 1 over 1. Creating this line here. And do you see that point where these two lines intersect? That is the solution to this system. And the coordinates of that point are what? 2, 0. Very good. Are there any questions here? Questions going once, twice? No? On the next problem, we subtract x, right?